We've got the all-new Cadillac Escalade, and boy, does it ever look sweet.
This thing is not just a showcase for Cadillac luxury, it's also a showcase for technology and what General Motors can do.
Let's get in and take it for a ride.
Okay, Andrea, what do we have to put it in?
We have to put it in S for subscribe, and if you can hit the notification bell, it really supports the channel, and you'll be notified when a video drops, and then you can watch them all.
That's the best thing you can do to help us out. And also, if you want to follow along on Instagram, we're going to have questions, coffee, and cars, and a new feature. So follow Andrea, Motormouth_. Andrea, and for me, it's Motormouth_auto. This video is brought to you by Car Cost Canada. Get the dealer's cost, list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. Use the promo code MOTORMOUTH to become an expert member and get extra searches. The link is in the description below. So there's a lot to talk about with this new Escalade. It's not just a luxury car, it's also a technology showcase. It's loaded with technology.
And loaded with power.
What's under the hood?
A 6.2-liter V8 engine with 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque.
Or for no charge, instead of the 6.2-liter gas, you can get the Duramax inline 6-cylinder diesel. What's that all about?
It's got 277 horsepower and the same torque as this V8, 460. We're actually going to talk a little bit more about this diesel engine in the video.
All right, so do you want to get into, first of all, the key standard features?
Yes. Here are the Cadillac Escalade's key standard features. The base model comes with a 38-inch diagonal curved OLED screen, wireless CarPlay and Android Auto plus wireless charging, AKG stereo system with 19 speakers, leatherette seating services, heated front and rear seats plus steering wheel, hands-free power liftgate, LED headlights and tail lamps, keyless open and keyless start, 22-inch wheels, and a 17-inch all-season spare tire.
But I really don't think Cadillac wants you to buy that base model.
No, because you don't get the ventilated front seats.
But you
don't get a panoramic sunroof.
Leather seats.
You don't get leather seats. You don't get the magnetic ride control.
Mm-hmm.
What else don't you get, Zach?
Well, I think the main thing is you don't get leather seats and you don't get a big panoramic sunroof. And for a lot of people, that's really the gateway into a luxury experience.
So you're going to have to go up to the next trim and spend just over $99,000.
$99,000 more?
Oh, Zach. My gosh, you can afford that. No. Now we can say, no, it's just over $99,000.
Yeah,
sounds a little better.
That's a lot of money.
We've got to get into the showstopper in here, the 38-inch curved OLED screen. And this is brand new. Cadillac is the first to put this in a vehicle.
It's not really 38 inches. If you add all three screens together, it makes 38 inches. But it's not really one screen. But it's pretty impressive.
It really is.
So what's the one on the left, to your left there?
Okay, so to the left is a 7.2-inch touch screen, basically for the driver to hit 4 different modes. There's the gauge, map and navigation, augmented reality, and then of course night vision. And night vision is not standard on any of the trims, but it is optional, one above the base model.
See, same thing again, the base model, you can't get that. You have to go one up. This is why Cadillac wants you to buy that one.
Spend the extra. And so this is $2,300. I think it's great for people who are traveling at night a lot. It's a dark road, and what it does is it warns you if there's a pedestrian in front of you or an animal jumps out. So I think that would be handy.
If you lived in a rural area, country roads, no lights, it might be useful. I suspect most people won't get that.
No.
But then in the center screen, how big is that?
That's a 14.2-inch screen, and that has everything that you're hitting from the left screen. So it shows the map and navigation. The navigation is amazing. It basically projects everything in front of you, and it has big blue arrows to tell you where to turn. I think it's really good.
That's the only time I would use that augmented reality screen is when you have the navigation and you're in a strange place. So Mercedes-Benz has something like this as well, and I've used it in Europe driving in Munich. We were in a strange city, didn't know where we were going, and having the screens tell you exactly, and you could see it on the screen where you had to turn, was really quite helpful.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I wouldn't want it on all the time.
I wouldn't want it on all the time, but boy, is it ever clear, isn't it?
All right, now what about this screen?
This screen is a 16.9-inch touch screen. It's infotainment, and you can actually control it from the center console as well. There's a dial here. So it's really what you want to do. I've been using it as a touch screen.
Yeah,
it's just so intuitive.
And it's so close. And I think also because of the breadth of that screen, or the multiples of screens, it makes this vehicle feel smaller.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as wide, does it?
It feels more like a car.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting because Genesis has the big screen in their GV80, and they said it's the largest horizontal screen. No, this is.
Yeah, this is for
bigger.
sure.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we've got our buttons. Zach and I like buttons,
Yep.
and it controls the climate in the vehicle.
Yeah, the HVAC system there. The one thing I will say about this is it looks the most impressive when it's a little bit darker. If you get it in bright sunlight, it's not that vivid, and all of this screen action and all of the sort of shiny material in here, it's just a fingerprint and dust magnet.
Wow, so much dust.
The fingerprints, look at the screen to the left. It's
and
got
the fingerprints.
Now, what about just the general luxury of this? Take away the big screen, just the materials, the fit and finish, all of that.
I think it's really beautiful. It has, this trim has full leather throughout. It's this beautiful auburn brown color. And then there's black accents as well as this auburn color throughout the vehicle.
Now, we're seeing a major trend with luxury brands over the last little while. They're trying to out-quilt each other. It's quilted everything. Is it getting a little bit, I mean, I like it in here, but is quilting kind of getting overdone? If we're going to look back at this and go, that was so 2021.
Maybe. Or what about doing this? Just adding a tiny bit of quilt instead of quilt everywhere.
Yeah.
I think that might hold up a little bit better.
But it goes all the way to the back. So let's talk about the second row. Let's talk about the third row, because major improvements with this latest Escalade. She's bigger, she holds more. So let's get into that.
The second row has two captain's chairs in this trim, but a bench seat is optional. They're very comfortable, and it's easy just to walk through to get to the third row, of course. But if you come in from the side door, you just hit two buttons and it moves the seats.
It flips the seat back down, and then flips it forward. And it's very easy to get into the third row. So the third row, I can sit back there without having to move the seats forward as an adult. Now, I could definitely use a little bit more legroom, and of course the second row could slide forward.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely amazing the amount of space it has now.
I know, 10 inches more legroom back there, and over 60% more cargo space than the outgoing model.
Yeah, a lot of the sort of mid-size crossovers, they just don't have cargo space when all the seats are being used.
The third row is also power operated up and down. The seats do not recline. And the second row seats are not ventilated, but heated.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty normal. Okay, now, what about the outside of this thing? It's chunky.
It's chunky, it's boxy, it looks like a beast, don't you think?
I like the look of it. I like the crisp lines. I kind of like the look of the old one better. I like the sharp line down the side of the old one. Do you know what I really miss?
What?
Are the vertical headlamp treatment. Now they have it with the daytime running lights, but the old one, I like the headlights better. These are now horizontal and quite thin, and I think I like the old headlamp package better.
Really, I like these ones better. I just think they look more modern, and I love the tail lamps.
Yeah.
I think they look so cool.
Because the signature for Cadillac has been their lighting packages, and I just think with this, they kind of lost a little bit at the front. But it's a boss-looking truck. The huge running boards are fantastic.
Oh, I need the running boards just to get in and out because it's so big.
Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about on the inside is this, I think it's an aluminum or plastic piece across the front of the dash that is perforated for the speakers. That just looks so beautifully finished and high quality, along with the speaker grates. I think they've done a really good job with all of that.
Let's talk a bit about the storage. So this one actually comes with a refrigerator.
Yeah.
And it holds 6 500 ml bottles, and it gets quite cold. The only problem with this option is $805 is that you don't get the storage unit then. I think I would prefer the storage and maybe just bring a cooler bag along.
But your gum will be nice and cold. But now it's time to stop and have a coffee.
Time now for questions, coffee, and cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
So, by the way, we have a new hot topic. We're going to pick one of the questions from Instagram and use it as our hot topic, which I think is pretty cool.
Coming up after questions, coffee, and cars.
That's right. So let's get to it. Is it as comfortable and refined as the GLS and X7? Or does it still feel like a truck? No, it's smooth, but at the same time, it kind of feels like a truck. It is the perfect combination.
It is a big truck. It's an SUV based on a pickup truck. There's air suspension available, and you still feel like you're driving a truck, but it's in a cool way.
In a cool way. I find the GLS a little bit too soft for me. A little bit, as we like to call it,
floaty boaty.
So, Zach,
Floaty boaty, baby. Floaty boaty.
Where did these come from?
Amazon, a 4-pack.
If you had to change one thing about this vehicle, what would it be?
Fuel economy.
I cannot get over the size of the front grille. How did you find driving it in the city? Actually, no problem at all with all of the tech in here. It's a box on wheels and all of the large mirrors. It's actually pretty easy.
I say that square vehicles are easier to maneuver because you can actually see the edges. Cars that are curved or utilities that are curved, you can't see the edges, actually are trickier.
And quick story, I had to parallel park this baby and I had an audience doing it, but I nailed it. How does this compare to the Denali?
This is an interesting topic. So the Yukon Denali used to be basically the twin of this car. You could also get the 6.2 liter V8. And I was at a meeting in General Motors at the Detroit Auto Show, and Bob Lutz, the former chairman, said to us, he said, people who buy those Denalis, they can't afford the Escalade.
They can
afford it. They're wealthy. They just don't want to be seen in an Escalade.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it does compare. Now they've separated them. This has more tech than that.
That's a good tidbit of information there, Zach. I liked it. How does the Escalade ride and handle compared to the Lincoln Navigator? I'm interested in the shift to rear independent suspension for GM products. Well, the Navigator is very smooth and very soft. I would say that it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, we call it floaty boaty, and it is really floaty. We've done that, I think, 3 times now, said things together. And Andrea, you have a story of when I went to the launch of it?
Yeah, and Zach was up in Whistler, and when he came home with it, I said, how is it? And he said, too soft. You wouldn't like it.
It's like it wallows in its suspension.
And you actually felt a little bit nauseous. Can you believe it?
Andrea likes a firm ride, and this one's got a firmer ride, so much, much better.
Yeah,
and independent rear suspension offers you way more space on the inside now.
Yes.
And that's a big deal.
And that's it for our questions.
All right, if you want to get a question in or maybe be part of our hot topic, follow Andrea. It's motormouth_Andrea. And now, because you hear the music, you know it's time for nightlife. So we've got a brand new feature we've added on top of questions, coffee, and cars, because sometimes we want to expand on a question.
Yes.
It's called, Andrea, what?
Our hot topic.
So we take one question and we expand on it. What's the question this time?
So this is from Scott. Will this come in a diesel, and which engine do you recommend? So Zach and I, well, you know we're big fans of diesel engines, and the torque in the diesel, 460 pound-feet of torque. And guess what? It's just the fuel economy is so much better in the diesel engine, although I have to say I love the sound of the V8.
Well, this V8 is fantastic. 6.2 liter. It's their premium engine in General Motors, and it delivers the mail all day long.
Yeah.
It just loves gasoline. So we've been driving very slowly like we are now, and we're getting 26.5 liters per 100K, and we've been as high as 39.
I know.
I mean,
it's just not good.
It's just not good. So as much as the sound and the delivery and the power of this V8 is fantastic, it would be a really hard decision not to take the diesel, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to try it. I want to obviously drive it and feel it and see if I really like it. But generally, we like diesel engines.
Okay, I have driven the inline 6-cylinder diesel but on the GMC pickup truck, the Denali, so that engine is available. I like the power of it. It's obviously noisier and a different sound than this, but you have to give something up in order to get better fuel economy. And you don't lose anything with towing. What's the towing rating of this one?
8,000 pounds.
And what do you get with the diesel?
Same, 8,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So it makes no difference.
Okay, we'll hit it now. I mean, it sounds like a sports car almost, this
Yeah,
engine.
it sounds so good. It really feels like the engine isn't even working.
So I think because of this, we should actually get into the official fuel economy numbers. What is it for the V8 gas?
So 16.8 liters per 100 kilometers in the city, 12.4 on the highway, and a 14.6 liter combined. Although we're not seeing
We're
that
not seeing
ourselves.
anything close to that.
For the diesel engine, 12 liters per 100 kilometers in the city, 8.9 on the highway, and 10.6 liters combined, which is actually quite good for such a large vehicle.
Yeah, and the diesel is going to be more predictable when it comes to fuel economy. It's going to get closer to the advertised numbers. Now, I will say, with the old Escalade, I remember going to the launch, because the V8 has what's called cylinder management, it can switch off half the cylinders. So highway cruising, you actually can get close to the numbers. I just find in the city, it's just horrible on gas. In this sort of class of vehicle, air suspension seems to be really prominent. So on the Lincoln Navigator, it's available, and it's available on this too, right?
Yes, on the top trim.
All right, now, in addition to that, they have something called magnetic ride control. This is a highly advanced suspension dampening system that basically reads the road 1,000 times a second and changes the suspension up to 100 times a second.
Wow.
It's fantastic technology, and I think that even if you didn't have air suspension, the fact it comes with that makes a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, why don't we take a look at the competition?
For your consideration, 4 categories and 4 vehicles for you to consider.
Our first category is closest competitor. It goes to the Lincoln Navigator with 450 horsepower and 520 pound-feet of torque. It comes in at $96,500.
The non-luxury alternative goes to the GMC Yukon Denali. With 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque, it's priced at almost $80,000.
The vehicle with the most horsepower in this price range goes to the BMW X7 M50i. It has 523 horsepower and has a starting price of just over $114,000.
A vehicle to keep an eye on is the Jeep Grand Wagoneer, the return of that iconic nameplate. Just like this Escalade, it's a body-on-frame SUV. It's built off the Ram 1500 platform, and it should arrive midway through 2021.
And there are 4 vehicles for your consideration. Since you touched on the suspension, why don't we get into the handling? First off, I have to say the turning radius on this is amazing.
Yeah, mind-bogglingly good.
Wow.
Yeah, it just turns on nothing. It's amazing for such a mammoth vehicle.
I know, it really doesn't feel like you're driving something so big, and it handles so well. It takes the corners with ease. I just am really surprised by how good it is.
Yeah, and because of independent rear suspension, the magnetic ride control, as we mentioned, the air suspension, plus it's adaptive. You can go from touring to sport. It's not that big a difference, but it doesn't feel, as we mentioned in our coffee segment, doesn't feel like the floaty boaty Navigator.
No,
it
not
feels
at all.
like you're planted on the road and you feel the road, and I like that.
Me too. It's just a nice drive generally.
Yeah.
One thing I really love is the AKG stereo system. It has 36 speakers and it sounds amazing. Zach and I blasted it.
Yeah, the
other
interesting
night.
thing is the Navigator has the Revel audio. Theirs is sublime as well. But it's interesting because Cadillac has moved away from Bose. They were so closely connected. The first high-end stereo from Bose was in a Cadillac, and now they've gone to AKG, and with great results.
And it's the first time AKG is being used in a vehicle.
Yeah.
So, Zach, I actually have a fun fact for everybody, but I have to ask you a question first. Have you ever seen this screen anywhere else besides this Escalade?
No.
Okay, so here's my fun fact. The 2016 Cadillac Escalade concept car. And you know what? typically they don't take things that are in a concept car and move it into production, but they did, and I'm glad that they did.
And that is a beautiful car.
Yeah.
Wow, striking looking car. Well done, Drea.
Thanks.
All right, you know what? We got to get to the meat of this, which is this thing's big, this thing's powerful, this thing's expensive.
Yes.
Let's do our price pause.
The base model luxury trim starts at $89,798. The premium luxury and sport trims are both $99,298. The premium luxury platinum and sport platinum are $117,798. And the one that we are test driving, the premium luxury platinum with some extra features, comes in at just over $124,000.
For a fancy pickup truck.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, isn't it?
All right, now before we go, I just want to ask you something, all right? If you are not aware of this, and I encourage you to click the card here, our top 10 vehicles of last year, we chose the Cadillac CT5V as our favorite vehicle we drove throughout 2020.
Yep.
Now you're driving this Escalade. I always used to go on and on about how much I like Cadillac.
Yes.
Where are you now with the Cadillac brand?
Well, obviously I'm a big fan of Cadillac now because they are putting out some great products. I actually wasn't a fan before. I didn't like them as much. But
now
I
you're
am
driving
now.
them. Yeah.
Now I am. I really, really like them. And I've said this before, you got to give Cadillac props because they are putting out some great products.
And they're throwing a lot at this thing. So, they are the best seller in this category for a reason.
I like the performance, the handling, and all this tech. Cadillac, you nailed it with this Escalade.
Cadillac doesn't want you to buy the base model. They want you to buy one up from the base. It's almost $10,000 more, but you're getting one hell of an SUV. This video is brought to you by Car Cost Canada. Get the dealer's cost, list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. Use the promo code MOTORMOUTH to become an expert member and get extra searches. The link is in the description below.